Alright, welcome to the artist lecture / introductory to this assignment. So we are in our 5th photography assignment, Light. This is due the 19th of March at the end of the day, and there will be a crit discussion board like you're doing with the Spaces and Places assignment. So the instructions is that you will photograph light, and the primary focus of your image will be light. Light is what makes each photo. In other words, the composition of your photo will not be successful without your use of light. No flash will be allowed. So you really need to be aware of light, letting light kind of lead the discussion of your image. To create images where light's the primary subject, the composition is so strong the viewer sees the powerful effect of the light. I want you to create images that capture the magic and wonder that is the essence of photography. And this quote says, "Embrace light, admire it, love it, and above all, know light. Know it for all you are worth, and you will know the key to photography." I want you to develop an awareness of the quality of light and how it translates to a successful image. You may use natural or artificial light, and I do love natural light. I do have a preference for it, but it can be really powerful. But the choice is yours, and I want you to think about what you can create. Flash will not be allowed, as it's so difficult to control. We will talk about flash and artificial light settings later on. You want to work with available light. You're going to shoot as many images as you like, but you're going to edit it down to 10. Now, when I say you should probably shoot around 48 images, which is about 4 rolls of film, so you can edit it down. You want to shoot a lot and then narrow it down. And then, so at least one image should be taken with the type of lighting from this list below, and the final images being open to your choice. Natural light, artificial light, soft light, hard light, backlight, either strong, warm, or cool light, blue hour or golden hour, and 7 to 10 will be your choice from the above light scenarios. Your images should be taken in RAW with manual control settings, and everything must be taken uniquely to this assignment. You cannot take things that you've shot for previous assignments. This is outlined in the syllabus. So if you took images from week 1 that you thought would be really good, you cannot use them again. So you're going to edit your images down to 10 photographs, no more, no less. The images should be processed in Camera Raw and Lightroom and Photoshop. So process them as normal. They should be 300 dpi/ppi and no smaller than 8 by 10 inches. They could be larger, just not smaller. Your numbers for this one are going to be a little trickier than to correspond to this list. So you'll do your name dash photography assignment 5 light. Your files should be named your first name, last name, underscore PA5 dash number. The number sign. Do not put number signs on your file names. That's to replace numbers. So it should be example 0401. And it's going to correspond to the list. So the image you're shooting for natural light should be 01. Hard light should be 04. That's what I'm going to assume what your project is, and that's sort of how I'm going to match whether you're saying this is soft light. If you give me a hard light image for soft light, you will not get points for that image. And as before, you'll be doing an artist inspiration for this, and I really want your to follow. The inspiration should relate to the upcoming photography project. So you need to relate your inspiration to the light assignment. So we're going to get into this artist lecture for inspiration. So some artist inspiration for natural light. Now again, you could use warm or cool light, hard or soft light, but it has to be natural light. And I really like this one because it has that warm and cool light going on. It's not quite one or the other. And the page is really, that's standing up, is really defining this photograph. Again, just a nice, beautiful portrait, but this portrait is really strong with the type of light that's happening. This gorgeous landscape. and just gorgeous natural light. And not all natural light has to be outside. You can shoot indoors with light coming into your scene. But where the light is hitting this closet and this sort of softness is really gorgeous in this image. So we have this sort of harsh directional light where the sun is starting to set, coming onto these watermelons, but it's sort of leading us back to here. So think about composition and leading lines, because you want your viewer to constantly be looking at your photograph. You don't want them to sort of stick out one thing, all right, I get it, and I leave. You want your photograph, whether you're a fine art photographer, a commercial photographer, a portrait photographer, a wedding photographer, product photographer, whatever type of photographer it is, you want your viewer to be so encapsulated by your ability to frame within a scene. I love this one because it's all natural light, and it really emphasizes the difficulty of snow. So if you make your way up north right now, you'll be able to see some snow, and snow is so hard to expose. It's almost blown out, and we're kind of pushing all the limits of the exposure here. That's why you're shooting in RAW, so you can adjust to those manual settings. Again, look at the shadows that are being cast on the subject. Again, this image isn't really correctly exposed because the blacks aren't pure blacks. They actually, it's a kind of a popular trend with photography where you take your blacks on your curves and push them up. It has a sort of a fake film look, an underexposed film look. So you want your blacks to be pure black to make the image even stronger. Just some gorgeous natural light and some beautiful shadows and highlights. Let the light be the emphasis for this photograph. So artificial light. This is a strobe photograph. We're not doing strobes necessarily for this assignment, but I really love I wanted to show this sort of flatness that strobes can take, which is get this immediacy, this quickness, this almost amateur look, but it works for this stuff. So outside of this assignment, think about how you can even use that to kind of work within the vernacular of the images you're working with. Use the light around you, let it kind of reflect on your subject. So I really love signs, neon lights, because there's so many different types of colored light. So we have this sort of this IPA beer sign. We get this blue, white, and red, and it's kind of reflecting the sort of pinky red tones. And we got this light here in the bokeh when you're using this sort of really shallow depth of field. And kind of slower. It's even caught in the smoke, which is really gorgeous. Artificial light is beautiful. Let it in, and also kind of ugly too, which is it's this like beautiful ugliness. Like I love this sort of top-down view of this pool, which there's so many pools around here, but sort of it's this coolness with this sort of peak of color here. Thinking about that color lecture where how you can use sort of pops of color to really kind of lead a conversation. Artificial light, you can really kind of use those color casts strong. So again, bringing it back to that color lecture, we had this blue hallway and this warm light and this contrast. Artificial light kind of nice and spreads, so this would be a longer shutter speed to let that light kind of fill in and kind of have this image. Again, this is black and white. I really want you guys to these peaks of light and how they're in this scene are absolutely gorgeous. Backlit in, this sort of foggy window. The light is beautiful, the warmth, the cools, how it's reflecting up. And this sort of mixed light, which can be a little bit more difficult. So sometimes if you don't know, if you can't quite name the type of light, you have those open ones at the end of your assignment, but we have this contrast. Again, people love contrast, this cool light with that warmth, which is absolutely beautiful. This is done with strobes, I will admit, I could tell, but the sort of contrasting the light of the sort of the everydayness of this image is absolutely beautiful. It's done with strobes to kind of enhance the light, but allowing that to really kind of lead the scene. Exteriors can really help. Street scenes really have great natural light. Soft lights. This is a light that kind of wraps around your subject. So these are sort of these cloudy, overcast days. But see how gorgeous and soft everything is. And this is weird because you, at first, you're like, this image isn't focused, but it's actually focused on these windshield dings, which is really this view within a view, and this push and this pull, which is absolutely beautiful in this photograph. Portraits are gorgeous in soft light. You could really see we're using this shallow depth of field and how it's sort of wrapping around the subject, really emphasizing the child's face. When it's rainy, gorgeous soft light images. So you're looking for those non-harsh shadows. Shadows will be there, but they're a little softer at the edge. Those cloudy days, there's not going to be a ton of contrast. Hard lights. This is with those hard edges. You can see this hard line. This could be with artificial or natural light. So if you have a spotlight, it's going to have that hard light. Look at so this light spread isn't so hard, but I'm looking at this. The shadow off this stoplight's really harsh. Coming in from windows where that direct light is, you can see those long shadow lines. They're very dramatic images. A lot of these are in black and white because they really complement, but they can be done in color. And they don't have to all be this super dramatic, but see these hard lines on the subject's face. Backlight. So this is where light's coming in from a source. A lot of windows are used here. These tend to be a little bit more hard light. The exposure, the subject that's in the window is going to be a little bit underexposed in relation to everything. That's how you want it to be. Don't spend your time trying to do a spot exposure on the subject so everything's perfectly exposed. You want that sort of drama that's happening. Almost all of them are windows, which is okay. Not always, but sometimes. Warm light. Again, golden hour. Really gorgeous tones. The light's filling in. Really getting that contrast. The light's gorgeous here where it's coming in through the window. You could see the outline of this plant and the window shade facing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I could look at this image forever. In golden hours, you could look up golden hour pictures forever, and they're always interesting, and they bring something new to your subject. Cool lights. This is a blue hour. This is a little harder to find. Where it goes from warm to blue, if you're shooting outside. It's not necessarily always shade, and not necessarily always tones, so keep that in mind. There's this softness. The sun is lighting everything, but it's not quite direct. So this is some student work. So this is some student work for natural light. Student work for artificial light. Student work for soft light. Hard light. Backlight. The sun's there. Warm or cool light. And for the ones that towards the end that are kind of on the cusp, remember you have those open 7 through 10. You could have those 3 open slots. I hope you have a lot of fun looking at artists for your artist inspiration as well, and I can't wait to see your photographs.